everyone, Jen here. I'm the founder and executive director of the Muddy Pug Farm and Sanctuary outside of Maple Valley, Washington. And we are pausing our normally scheduled Muddy Pug programming to talk with you about something that happened over the weekend that is like so shocking and disappointing. We have to talk about it. I can't stop thinking about it, and I have to talk about it. So, as many of you know, on the Muddy Pug Farm and Sanctuary, we are huge heavy metal fans. And this weekend, my 18-year-old daughter and I went to go see Slipknot. It was a freaking amazing, amazing show. But something happened at this show that is so beyond the pale of unacceptable, I have to talk about it. So we were super fortunate to get general admission tickets, which would allow us to be near the mosh pit. I've already tried to be in a Slipknot mosh pit once. It was like, I questioned my life choices at that moment. But we got tickets, general admission, so that we could try to get as close to the stage and front and center as humanly possible. And rolled up on the venue like 4 hours before the show started, and as we were waiting in line, the family that was ahead of us was a Native American family, and one of the family members was disabled. She was in a large walker, and it was really difficult for her to walk, and so she was trying to walk a couple of steps, and when she couldn't walk anymore, she sat down. It was really uncomfortable for her to sit down, so she would stand for a little bit, and like clearly profound physical discomfort and challenges. And to make the situation even more difficult for her, her family was sitting elsewhere in the venue. She's a huge Slipknot fan, but she was the only one that bought a general admission ticket to be down in the pit so that she could be as close as possible. Who would not want to be as close as possible to Slipknot? So as we all got into the venue, my daughter and I made our way down into the pit. We were super excited that we got to the front of the area. We were right up against the railing. And what was so interesting is it took this woman a while to make her way down into the pit with the security guard's assistance, and they rolled her up into the pit and just sort of left her there, and it was up to her to make the rest of her way towards the front where the stage was. And as my daughter and I were standing there, and if you've ever been to a metal show, you probably can relate, as I looked around, like all the way to the left and all the way to the right, mostly white dudes. The front near the stage is probably one of the saferest places in that general admission area. And, anytime you're getting like 1 to 2 people back, you're into the actual mosh pit, and that is not a reasonable place to be, especially in a Slipknot show. And so this woman, she really needed to be in the front, in the center. And so as she rolled up, she was asking as loudly as she can, hey, is anybody willing to move and make room for me so that I can get my walker up here and I will be safe for the show? Literally, not one man was willing to make space for a Native American disabled woman who was asking for her own safety. Could someone please make room for her to be safe? So much in this one situation. So as I saw her come up and asking, I'm like, dude, of course, BB, don't eat the Slipknot hoodie. Come on, dude. It's only 2 days old. So 100%, absolutely, I will step aside for you. And she turns to the guy on her left, and there's 3 dudes, and she's like, hey, would you mind moving down? Can you just take a step to the left? And that will give me enough room to move my walker in. And these dudes had several reactions, all of which were completely freaking unacceptable. So the first dude just like looked down at her and then looked away, which was clearly like I see you, but I don't care and I'm not moving. And the second dude heard her and was like watching her out of the corner of his eye, but just had like the 1,000-yard stare of someone who is trying really hard to pretend like they can't hear and they are not listening or acknowledging another person. And then further down, the dudes were just like shaking their heads like, nope, no way. Nope, I'm not going to move for you. And so it took several women who saw this unfolding to step forward and say, hey, everybody, take a couple of steps so this woman can move her walker into a reasonably safe place. And it was so fascinating that the men who were the keepers of this space along the railing were unwilling to make space. And it took other women who were not keepers of this space to advocate for her, for other people to make space. Like, they did not hold space themselves, but they were willing to step forward and advocate for someone to please make space for this poor woman who needed space held for her. And that's like, why? Why would that happen? Why would someone who is in a place of power, that is in a place of having, who would not be losing anything material by making space for another person who clearly needs space for themselves? Like, why would you not do that? And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say, I feel like as someone who is a minority mixed race woman, I feel 100% empowered to say to the white men of the world, you have so much! You have so much! And you lose nothing of what you have. Like, you have been given so much by virtue of being born who you are. You lose nothing by making space and giving it to other people who don't have as much as you. You lose nothing. You lose nothing. And you actually gain something, which is your freaking humanity. Your humanity! And that wasn't even everything that happened. Okay, that was just the tip of the iceberg. So as we get on into the show, if you've ever been to a heavy metal show, especially a Slipknot show, dude, it gets really rowdy. There's all kinds of people pushing, all kinds of people shoving, jumping, being crazy. Not a single man stepped forward to help to protect this woman in her walker. So as the crowd really started getting rowdy, it took a ring of women standing around this woman to ensure that nobody bumped into her. There were women who would like check in on her, like touch her shoulder, like, hey sister, are you doing okay? Do you need any water? Are you too warm? Do you need a fan? Can we get you anything to eat? Like, what's going on with you? Not a single man turned his head to be remotely concerned about this disabled woman of color. Not one. Not one. Not one offered her water. Nobody came and stood beside me or the two other women who were like standing around her to protect her. Even Manny's mad. It's just so shocking. It was like the utter lack of concern. Huh, Manny? It was so embarrassing. Just the utter lack of concern of like, I'm here in my privileged little space and I don't care about anybody else and what's going on with them. As long as I'm okay, that's all that matters, for me to be okay. And it was only the women who were following up with her and checking in on her and asking if she was okay. And as Slipknot took the stage, like, the crowd erupted. Such a freaking amazing show. And there were people who were crowd surfing, and once again, as it got really, really rowdy, the only people who were like standing over this woman, as people were crowd surfing overhead, like put their hands over her to try to protect her or to like shove people along. Not a single man, not one man did that. Not one man. And last, but certainly not least, at the end of the show, lights go up in the house, and she is like exhausted. Of course, anybody's exhausted that's gone through a show like that. But she was in tears because as someone was crowd surfing, they kicked her in the head. And she was in tears, and one of the security guards finally came up and was like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm really upset because I think someone kicked me in the head and it really hurts." And he just shrugged his shoulders and said, "That's what happens when you're up front in the pit." And I can't tell you, as a woman, how many times women get told, if you didn't choose to be in this place with men where you maybe shouldn't be or you don't belong, this would not have happened to you. And I'm just gonna say, fuck off. Fuck off with that way of thinking, because women deserve to be everywhere. Women of color deserve to be everywhere. Women with disabilities deserve to be everywhere. Women with mental health issues deserve to be everywhere. And they don't have to take unforeseen consequences and make it their fault because they are in a place where they deserve to be. Men, and Austin's upset, men, do fucking better. Women, keep looking out for each other, because we are the only ones who are looking out for each other. We have to do better. We have to be better. With so much love from the Muddy Pug.